The rhythmic hum of the orbital shipyard's fusion cores had become as natural as breathing to Marcus Thane after 15 years of service. The massive facility, hanging in Earth's orbit like a mechanical constellation, was humanity's pride, the place where their dreams of reaching the stars were quite literally being assembled. Marcus moved through the labyrinth of cooling pipes and power conduits with practiced ease, his maintenance tablet casting a soft blue glow on his weathered face. At 43, he'd earned every laugh line around his dark eyes and the scattered gray in his black hair. The graveyard shift suited him, the quiet hours when most of the yard's 10,000 workers slept gave him space to think. The alert had seemed routine enough, power fluctuations in Section 7, probably another glitch in the new quantum stabilizers. But as he approached the source, his instruments began displaying readings he'd never seen before. The energy signature wasn't just unusual, it defied everything he knew about physics. A soft metallic clinking echoed through the chamber, followed by what sounded like whispered words in an impossible language. Marcus slowed his approach, years of spacewalking experience having taught him that unexpected situations in zero gravity could turn deadly in seconds. He rounded the final corner and froze. Floating near one of the main power junctions was a figure that shattered every conception of reality he'd built over 4 decades of life. Her form was humanoid, but her skin had a crystalline quality that seemed to catch and reflect the ambient light. Delicate structures that looked like wings, or perhaps sensors, extended from her shoulders, rippling with patterns of light that made his eyes hurt if he looked too long. The alien, there was no other word for her, was clearly injured. A dark fluid that looked like liquid starlight dripped from a gash in her side, forming perfect spheres in the zero gravity. She was trying to reach something in a toolkit that had spilled open, her movements growing increasingly desperate. Marcus knew he should alert security. It was protocol. It was safe. It was sane. Instead, he cleared his throat softly. The alien spun with impossible grace, even wounded. Her eyes locked with his, 3 of them, arranged in a triangle, each one shifting through colors he had no names for. Fear showed clearly on her features, which despite their alienness managed to convey very human emotions. "I mean you no harm," Marcus said softly, raising his empty hands. "You're hurt. I can help." The alien studied him for several long moments before speaking. The words that emerged weren't English, but somehow he understood them anyway. "The translation field, it works on your kind." "Fascinating." She winced, more of the starlight blood forming perfect spheres around her. "I miscalculated. The power signature was stronger than our reading suggested." Marcus pushed gently off the wall, moving closer with the slow deliberation of someone approaching an injured animal. "I've got a medical kit. Not sure if it'll work for your biology, but it's better than bleeding out next to a fusion core." He managed a small smile. "I'm Marcus." "Naira," she replied, then added something that sounded like wind chimes in a hurricane. "But that will suffice." Her third eye closed, seemingly from pain. "Why do you offer help instead of raising an alarm?" Marcus was already pulling out the medical scanner, hoping it could make sense of her alien physiology. "Because you're hurt, and you're scared, and whatever brought you here must have been important enough to risk everything." The scanner was displaying complete nonsense, but he did recognize some basic anatomical parallels. "Also, if you wanted to sabotage us, you picked the least efficient way possible." A sound like crystal wind chimes filled the chamber, alien laughter, he realized. "Your species," the others said humans were unpredictable. They meant it as a warning. Naira's expression shifted to something unreadable. Perhaps they should have seen it as hope. The medical foam he applied seemed to work, or at least it stopped the bleeding. As he worked, Naira explained in fragments why she was there. Her people, the Luminari, had been watching Earth for decades. They'd detected something in human technology, specifically in the new ships being built in this yard, something that could either doom or save both their species. There's a threat coming, she said, her three eyes focusing on something far beyond the station's walls. Something ancient. Something that devours civilizations. We detected its wake, heading for both our worlds. But in your quantum drives, these new ships you're building. She touched the hull reverently. There's an answer here. We just couldn't risk official contact, not yet. Too many variables. Marcus finished securing the bandage, his mind racing. So you decided to sneak in and have a look yourself? Not exactly the safest research method. Says the human who's treating an alien intruder instead of calling his authorities. Her middle eye winked at him, and Marcus felt something shift in his chest. Before he could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the section. Energy anomaly detected, the station's AI announced. Security teams en route. All personnel clear the area. Naira's expression turned to one of panic. They'll detect me now. The injury weakened my camouflage field. She tried to move and gasped in pain. Marcus made a decision that would change history. Here, he said, pulling off his maintenance jumpsuit's outer layer. Put this on. We're getting out of here. As he helped her into the suit, he added, but you're going to tell me everything about this threat, and why you really chose this section to investigate. As they moved carefully through the maintenance shafts, Naira's voice was solemn. I will. But knowing the truth will change your life forever, Marcus Thane. Lady, he replied, checking the security feeds on his tablet, finding you already did that. He didn't add that as he helped her navigate through the darkness, he felt more alive than he had in years. Something momentous had begun in that engine room, something that would ripple out to touch every human and luminary life in ways none of them could imagine. Security teams rushed past their hiding spot, not noticing the maintenance shaft's access panel that had just been sealed. Inside, an injured alien and a human engineer began a conversation that would reshape two civilizations, their voices barely whispers against the vast hum of the shipyard's fusion cores. The maintenance pod's interior wasn't designed for two people, especially when one of them had crystalline wing structures that seemed to exist in more dimensions than Marcus could comprehend. He guided the small vessel through the shipyard's exterior maintenance routes, keeping to the shadows of the massive ships under construction. They're scanning for unusual energy signatures, Marcus said, checking the security feeds on his tablet. Whatever you normally use to stay hidden. The quantum camouflage field, Naira supplied, her three eyes monitoring different readouts simultaneously. The injury disrupted its coherence. Even with your help, I can only maintain basic visual concealment. She touched the makeshift bandage at her side, her crystalline skin reflecting the pod's emergency lights in mesmerizing patterns. Marcus guided them behind the skeletal framework of the UES Hyperion, the largest quantum ship ever attempted by humanity. That's why you were in that specific section, wasn't it? Something about our quantum drive technology. Naira's middle eye fixed on him while the other two continued their vigilant watch. Your species made a breakthrough without realizing it. The quantum folding principle you use for faster-than-light travel, it has other applications. Applications that could save both our civilizations. She winced, more of the starlight blood seeping through the bandage. You need real medical attention, Marcus said, already plotting a course to his private quarters in the residential ring. And we need to figure out exactly what. The pod's comm system crackled to life. Maintenance Pod 247, this is Security Chief Roland. Your transponders showing irregularities. Return to Bay 12 for immediate inspection. Marcus felt sweat bead on his forehead but kept his voice steady. Copy that, Chief. Just finishing up external checks on the Hyperion's quantum shielding. Some odd readings we needed to verify. A pause that lasted several lifetimes. Negative, Pod 247. Return immediately or we will assume hostile intent. They're deploying interceptors, Naira warned, her wings fluctuating with anxiety. Marcus, I can't let them catch me. The knowledge I carry, it's too important. Marcus made another history-altering decision. Hold on. He fired the pod's maneuvering thrusters at full power, diving into the lattice of construction scaffolding surrounding the Hyperion. Warning sirens blared as security vessels launched in pursuit. That was exceedingly unwise, Naira observed, though there was admiration in her alien tone. Yeah, well, wisdom took a back seat when you bled starlight all over my favorite maintenance bay. Marcus threaded the pod through gaps that were never meant to accommodate vessels of any size, his decades of experience giving him an edge over their pursuers. As they wove through the metallic maze, Naira began explaining in greater detail. The threat she'd mentioned wasn't just coming, it had already arrived at the edges of both their civilizations. The Devourers, as her people called them, were ancient machines that consumed entire solar systems for resources, breaking down all matter and energy into basic components for their endless expansion. We detected them a decade ago, she said, bracing herself as Marcus executed another impossible turn. They've already taken 3 uninhabited systems. Your quantum drive technology, it creates ripples in spacetime that they can't predict or counter. But we needed to understand how it works at a fundamental level. And officially asking was out of the question because politics. The word carried the same tone of frustration in any language. Some among my people believe we should simply evacuate our worlds, find somewhere distant to hide. Others want to wage conventional war, not understanding what we face. And some. She hesitated. Some believe we should forcibly take your technology, believing humans too primitive to be trusted with it. Charming. Marcus spotted a maintenance airlock that led to his residential section. Good thing you're not one of those. All 3 of Naira's eyes fixed on him. How can you be so certain? Because you got yourself hurt trying to understand us, not steal from us. He docked the pod with practiced precision. That says something about character. The airlock cycled, and Marcus helped Naira through the zero-gravity corridor. Her movements, despite the injury, carried an inherent grace that made him feel clumsy in comparison. They reached his quarters just as another security alert sounded through the station. Inside, Marcus quickly engaged his privacy screens, a holdover from his paranoid youth that was now proving prophetic. They'll be doing door-to-door searches soon, he said, helping Naira settle onto his small couch. But they'll need probable cause to enter private quarters. Your aid places you in tremendous danger, Naira observed, her wings folding close to her body. Why risk so much for me? Marcus gathered proper medical supplies from his emergency kit, including some experimental nanogel he'd borrowed from the medical bay. Because if you're right about these Devourers, we're all in tremendous danger anyway. And he met her triocular gaze. Because sometimes the right thing and the crazy thing are the same thing. As he helped her treat her wound properly, Naira shared more details about her mission. The Luminari had been studying human quantum drive technology from afar, but they couldn't decipher its full potential without direct access. Their own FTL method used crystalline technology similar to Naira's biology, efficient but predictable. Human quantum drives were chaos-harnessed, creating ripples in spacetime that defied conventional physics. Your species, she said with something like wonder, you don't just think differently, you bend reality differently. The Devourers operate on absolute mathematical precision. But your quantum drives, they're like music played in frequencies they can't hear. A sharp knock at the door interrupted them. Engineer Thane? Security Chief Roland's voice carried authority even through the metal. We need to discuss your unauthorized flight pattern. Marcus touched a finger to his lips and activated his door comm, kind of in the middle of something, Chief. Can it wait till my shift? This is a level 1 security matter, Thane. Open up. Naira's wings began to shimmer with anxiety, but Marcus held up a reassuring hand. Chief, I've got about 30 minutes left in mandatory rest period. Union regulations are pretty clear about interrupting those without a warrant or imminent threat conditions. Happy to come by security afterward and fill out all the paperwork you want. A long pause. 1 hour, Thane. Then I expect you in my office with a damn good explanation. After the sound of retreating footsteps faded, Marcus let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. That bought us some time, but not much. How's the wound? Healing, thanks to your nanogel. It's remarkable technology. Naira's wings flexed experimentally. Marcus, there's something else you need to know. Something about the Hyperion specifically. Before she could continue, Marcus's private terminal chimed with an urgent alert. His eyes widened as he read the message. Well, that complicates things. They're accelerating the Hyperion's quantum drive tests. First full power activation is scheduled for 12 hours from now. All three of Naira's eyes widened. No, it's too soon. The resonance cascade could. She tried to stand but stumbled, still weak from her injury. Marcus caught her, finding her body surprisingly warm to the touch. Want to tell me what has you so spooked about that test? Naira's expression was grave. If they activate that drive at full power without the proper quantum harmonics, it won't just fail, it will tear a hole in spacetime that could draw the Devourers straight to Earth. And my presence here, my injury, it's no accident that it happened now. What do you mean? I'm not just a researcher, Marcus. I'm part of a faction among my people who believe humans and Luminari must work together to survive what's coming. My mission here, the data I was gathering, it's part of a larger plan. But now. She touched the bandaged wound. Someone tried to stop me. Someone who wants the drive test to fail. Marcus felt the weight of revelation settle onto his shoulders. In trying to help an injured alien, he'd stumbled into something far bigger than himself. But looking at Naira, seeing the determination in her alien features, he knew he couldn't walk away. All right, he said, already pulling up schematics of the Hyperion's quantum drive systems. Then we've got 12 hours to figure out how to prevent a catastrophe, avoid security, and maybe save 2 civilizations in the process. He managed a grim smile. Just another day at the shipyard. Naira's crystalline features shifted in what he was learning to recognize as her version of a smile. You continue to surprise me, Marcus Thane. Most beings would run from such a challenge. Yeah, well. He pulled up his maintenance access codes. Most beings haven't spent 15 years keeping this place running with duct tape and optimism. Now, tell me exactly what we need to do to those quantum harmonics. As they began planning, neither of them noticed the small drone watching through the window, its transmission carrying their every word to interested parties far beyond the shipyard's boundaries. Time seemed to flow differently in Marcus's quarters as he and Naira worked to prevent disaster. His small living space had transformed into an impromptu command center, with holographic schematics of the Hyperion's quantum drive floating in the air, overlaid with crystalline symbols he was slowly learning to recognize. The core principle is sound, Naira explained, her wings casting shifting patterns on the walls as she gestured at the drive designs. But the resonance frequencies are misaligned. When activated at full power. She manipulated the hologram, showing a cascade of quantum effects that made Marcus's head hurt. It'll create a beacon, he finished, understanding dawning. Like a lighthouse in quantum space, visible to anything watching. Including the Devourers. Precisely. Naira winced as she shifted position, though the nanogel had helped significantly with her injury. We need to adjust the harmonics before the test, but that would normally require a complete drive rebuild. Unless. Marcus recognized the tone in her voice, alien as it was. You have an idea, but I'm not going to like it. All three of her eyes focused on him. My crystalline biology, it's not just aesthetic. We Luminari can interface directly with quantum systems. If I can reach the drive core during the test, I might be able to manually adjust the harmonics. Might? The energy involved. She hesitated. No luminary has ever attempted to interface with technology as chaotic as your quantum drives. The results would be unpredictable. You mean fatal? Marcus ran a hand through his hair in frustration. There has to be another way. Before Naira could respond, a new alert flashed on Marcus's terminal. His face went pale as he read it. They're moving up the test. New schedule shows initialization in 3 hours. He looked at her. Someone really wants this to happen. Naira's wings rippled with concern. The saboteur. They must have detected my presence, realized I survived. She pulled up new data on the holographic display. Marcus, there's something I need to show you. The real reason I chose to reveal myself to you. The image shifted to show a vast structure floating in the void, a mechanical nightmare that seemed to consume light itself. This is the closest image we have of a devourer node. They're autonomous machines, built by a civilization that vanished eons ago. They exist only to consume and replicate. More images appeared, entire planets being systematically dismantled, stars dimming as their energy was harvested, space itself warping around the massive machines. They operate on perfect mathematical principles, converting matter and energy into more of themselves with absolute efficiency. No waste, no deviation, no mercy. Marcus studied the images, his engineer's mind both horrified and fascinated. But our quantum drives. They introduce an element of chaos the devourers can't process. Your technology doesn't just bypass normal space, it creates microscopic inconsistencies in reality itself. Like static in their perfect calculations. Her expression turned solemn. But the test, if conducted as planned, will draw their attention. They'll come to investigate the anomaly, and once they find Earth, they'll see it as a resource to be consumed. Marcus felt cold despite the room's comfortable temperature. How long do we have before they reach the nearest human or luminary worlds? At their current pace? Perhaps a year. But if the quantum drive test creates the beacon. She left the sentence unfinished. Marcus checked the time. 2 hours and 47 minutes until the test. We need help. Someone in authority has to listen. They already know. Naira's voice was heavy. Or at least, some of them do. Why do you think the saboteur is so desperate to ensure the test proceeds as planned? The implications hit Marcus like a physical blow. There are humans working with them? Deliberately trying to draw these things here? Why? Naira's wings drew close to her body, a gesture he was learning to recognize as distress. The devourers occasionally spare small groups, using them as scouts and servants. These collaborators believe submission is preferable to extinction. They exist among both our peoples. Marcus thought of Security Chief Roland's insistence on inspecting his pod, the accelerated test schedule, the attempt on Naira's life. How high up does this go? High enough to make official channels dangerous. She met his gaze. This is why I chose you, Marcus. In studying your station's personnel, I found someone whose actions consistently showed integrity over ambition, compassion over protocol. Someone who might listen to an alien bleeding out in their engine room. And if you were wrong about me? Then both our civilizations would likely fall. Her middle eye winked. But I'm an excellent judge of character. The moment was interrupted by another alert. Marcus swore as he read it. They're running system pre-checks. We're out of time. He turned to Naira. That interface you mentioned, walking into an active quantum drive to manually adjust it. What are the real odds of survival? For a luminary attempting to interface with human quantum technology? All three eyes blinked in sequence. Approximately 8%. Marcus was already pulling up his maintenance access codes. Not happening. There has to be, he stopped, an impossible idea forming. Wait. You said your biology lets you interface with quantum systems. What about the reverse? Could human technology interface with luminary biology? Naira's crystalline features shifted in what he now recognized as surprise. Theoretically, but the neural load would be. She studied him. No. Absolutely not. The risk to your consciousness. Better odds than 8%? When she didn't respond, he continued. I know these drives, every circuit and conduit. If we combine your quantum sensitivity with my technical knowledge. It's never been attempted. But he could see her considering it. The merger would have to be perfect, even a slight misalignment could shatter both our minds. And even then, we'd need to reach the drive core undetected. Marcus pulled up the station schematics, highlighting a maintenance route that even most engineers didn't know about. Leave that part to me. But we need to decide now. Naira was silent for a long moment, her wings shifting through colors he had no names for. Finally, she spoke. If we succeed, it could provide more than just salvation from the devourers. A true merger of human and luminary consciousness, it could bridge our civilizations in ways neither of us imagined. And if we fail? Then we fail together, trying to save everything we care about. She extended her crystalline hand. Shall we remake history, Marcus Thane? He took her hand, feeling an electric tingle where their skin met. Just another day at the shipyard, he said with a smile that belied the fear in his heart. As they began preparing for their desperate gambit, emergency lights flashed throughout the station. The quantum drive test sequence had begun, and with it, a countdown to either salvation or catastrophe. In just over 2 hours, they would either change the course of 2 civilizations or die trying. And somewhere in the station, hidden cameras recorded their every move, transmitting to those who had very different plans for humanity's future. The maintenance shaft was barely wide enough for one person, let alone a human and an alien with crystalline wings. Marcus led the way, his tablet's dim light illuminating years of accumulated dust. Each movement had to be carefully controlled. At this level of the station, even a small sound could echo through the quantum drive chambers. The neural interface is ready, Naira whispered behind him, her wings occasionally brushing the shaft walls with a sound like wind chimes. But Marcus, there's something you should know before we proceed. He paused at a junction, checking for security patrols on his tablet. Kind of a busy time for revelations. The merger. Her 3 eyes seemed to glow in the darkness. It won't just be technical knowledge. Memories, emotions, the essence of who we are, everything will be shared. There are things in my mind that no human was meant to comprehend. Marcus thought about his own memories, loves lost, failures that still haunted him, the lonely years in space. Yeah, well, my head's not exactly a tourist destination either. He managed a small smile. But we're out of options and out of time. The station's warning system confirmed his words, quantum drive initialization continuing. Stage 2 checks commencing. All non-essential personnel clear the testing areas. They reached the access point to the drive chamber. Through the grating, Marcus could see the Hyperion's quantum core, a massive crystalline structure surrounded by pulsing fields of energy. The air itself seemed to shimmer with potential. Security's concentrated on the main entrance, Marcus observed, pulling up the camera feeds. They're not expecting anyone to be crazy enough to enter through here. He glanced at Naira. Of course, they also weren't expecting alien conspiracies and machine gods, so. Your species' ability to face existential terror with humor remains remarkable. Naira's wings shifted through patterns that seemed to mirror the quantum core's energy. The saboteur will be watching. They'll know this is the only way to prevent the cascade. As if on cue, Marcus's tablet detected movement. Multiple security teams converging on this section. someone tipped them off. He met Naira's triocular gaze. "We need to move. Now." The grating opened silently, maintenance had its privileges, and they descended into the drive chamber. The quantum core's energy made Marcus's skin tingle, while Naira's crystalline form seemed to resonate with it, creating haunting harmonics. They reached the neural interface station just as alarms began blaring. "Security breach in Drive Chamber 3. All units respond." Marcus's fingers flew over the controls, making final adjustments. "You're sure this will work?" "Define work." Naira's attempt at human humor was interrupted by the sound of heavy boots approaching. "But I trust you, Marcus Thane. With everything I am." The main doors began to cycle open. Marcus made the final connection, and the world exploded into light and sensation. The merger was nothing like either of them had imagined. Marcus felt his consciousness expand, encompassing perspectives and dimensions he had no words for. Naira's memories cascaded through him, the crystal spires of her homeworld, the weight of her people's history, the terror when they first detected the Devourers. Simultaneously, Naira experienced the depth of human emotion, the chaotic beauty of their dreams, Marcus's years of dedication to the shipyard and the loneliness that came with it. Their separate experiences merged and transformed, creating something entirely new. Through their shared awareness, they could see/feel/understand the quantum drive in its entirety. The mathematical perfection of luminary crystalline technology merged with the controlled chaos of human innovation. They reached out with combined consciousness, making adjustments at levels too subtle for either species alone to perceive. "Step away from the controls." Security Chief Roland's voice cut through their concentration. "This is your only warning." Their merged consciousness perceived layers of truth. Roland's surface thoughts clouded with genuine concern, but underneath, threads of connection to the saboteurs, to the Devourer's servants. Not willingly, they realized. He was being used, just as humanity was meant to be used. "The drive is reaching critical resonance," they spoke in unison, their voices harmonizing in impossible ways. "The cascade must be prevented." Roland raised his weapon, but hesitated at their transformed appearance. Marcus's human form now shimmered with crystalline patterns, while Naira's alien features had taken on distinctly human aspects. They stood together, connected by streams of light that mirrored the quantum core's energy. "You don't understand what you're interrupting," Roland said, but doubt had crept into his voice. "The plan, they promised us survival. They lied." Their merged voice carried the weight of combined knowledge. "The Devourers don't preserve, they consume. But together, we can show you another way." The quantum core pulsed, reaching its critical point. In their shared consciousness, Marcus and Naira could see the possibilities branching out, destruction if they failed, but something miraculous if they succeeded. More security forces poured in, weapons trained on them. But through their merged awareness, Marcus and Naira could see beyond the immediate threat. The quantum harmonics were almost aligned, the chaotic human elements perfectly balanced with luminary precision. Then another presence made itself known, a cold, mathematical consciousness trying to force its way through the quantum fields. The Devourers had sensed the energy buildup. They were reaching out, trying to establish their first connection with Earth. "They're here," Naira's thoughts echoed through their shared mind. "Then let's give them a proper welcome," Marcus's consciousness replied. Together, they reached deeper into the quantum core, preparing to either save two civilizations or tear reality apart in the attempt. The chamber filled with impossible light as human and alien, chaos and order, fear and hope merged into something the universe had never seen before. The Hyperion's quantum drive reached full power, and history held its breath. The quantum drive chamber had become a nexus of impossibility. Energy cascaded through reality in waves of light that hurt to look at, while the merged consciousness of Marcus and Naira reached through dimensions that had no names in any human or luminary language. Through their shared awareness, they could perceive everything at once, the security teams frozen in awe, Roland's weapon lowering as he witnessed something beyond his comprehension, and most crucially, the cold mathematical presence of the Devourers probing at the edges of their merged consciousness. The ancient machines had sensed the quantum disturbance, just as Naira had warned. But instead of finding a beacon to guide them to their next conquest, they encountered something unprecedented, human chaos and luminary precision working in perfect harmony. "Your pattern is incorrect," the Devourer's consciousness resonated through the quantum fields. "You must be reduced to base components and reorganized according to proper parameters." Through their merger, Marcus's human instincts combined with Naira's ancient knowledge. They understood the Devourers now, not just as a threat, but as a fundamental mistake. The machine's original creators had sought perfect order, but in doing so, they had created something that could only destroy what it couldn't control. "You've got it backwards," they responded through the quantum link, their merged voice carrying through multiple dimensions. "The incorrect patterns are what make life worth preserving." They reached deeper into the Hyperion's quantum core, using their combined understanding to do something that neither species could have accomplished alone. Human innovation guided by luminary knowledge, chaos and order dancing in perfect balance. The Devourer's presence pushed harder, trying to impose their mathematical certainty on the quantum fields. But everywhere they reached, they found human unpredictability supported by crystalline precision. It was like trying to solve an equation that kept changing its own parameters. Through their shared consciousness, Marcus and Naira began to rewrite the quantum harmonics at a fundamental level. The energy patterns shifted, creating a new kind of resonance that rippled out through spacetime itself. Not a barrier or a weapon, but a transformation. "What are you?" The Devourer's consciousness recoiled from the unfamiliar patterns. "We're what comes next," their merged voice replied. "The combination of differences that make something greater than the sum of its parts." The quantum core pulsed with new energy as they completed the changes. The Devourer's presence tried to analyze the pattern, but the more they observed, the more it affected them. Their perfect mathematical certainty began to evolve, infected by the very chaos they had sought to eliminate. In the physical world, Roland and his security team watched in awe as the merged form of human and luminary became a bridge between realities. Energy cascaded through the chamber, but instead of the destructive resonance cascade they had feared, it formed patterns of impossible beauty. "The quantum harmonics are stabilizing," their merged consciousness announced. "But this is more than just preventing a catastrophe. We're showing them another way." Through their connection, they could feel the Devourer's network being transformed. The machines that had sought to consume all of reality were being reshaped by the very chaos they had feared. Not destroyed, but changed, their perfect mathematical existence learning to accommodate imperfection. The light in the chamber began to fade, the energy settling into new patterns that would ripple across the galaxy. As their merged consciousness began to separate, Marcus and Naira shared one final moment of perfect understanding. This was only the beginning, Naira's thoughts whispered through their connection. "Yeah," Marcus's consciousness replied. "Turns out the universe had bigger plans than either of us suspected." Their forms separated slowly, the crystalline patterns fading from Marcus's human body while Naira's alien features returned to their original configuration. But something of the merger remained, a bridge between their species that could never be uncrossed. Roland was the first to lower his weapon completely. I saw," he managed, his voice shaking. "Through the quantum field. I saw what they really were, what they would have done to us." "Not just you," Naira said, her three eyes taking in the odd expressions of the security team. Everyone connected to the station's quantum network experienced an echo of the merger. They all know the truth now. Marcus checked the quantum core's readings, his engineer's mind already adapting to new possibilities. "The harmonics are stable. Better than stable, we've created something entirely new. A quantum framework that doesn't just power our ships, but could link our civilizations. And not just ours, Naira added, her wings shimmering with renewed energy. The Devourer's network is transforming. The parts of them that could only consume are learning to create instead. It will take time, but time is something we've just bought plenty of, Marcus finished. He looked at Roland. I don't suppose we could skip the paperwork on this one? The security chief actually laughed, the sound tinged with hysteria and relief. Pretty sure we're going to need some new forms for prevented galactic destruction through unauthorized alien contact and consciousness merging. In the days that followed, everything changed. The merger had been witnessed by thousands through the quantum network, making any attempt at denial impossible. Human and Luminari diplomatic channels opened officially, with Marcus and Naira serving as living proof of what their species could accomplish together. The Hyperion became more than just humanity's greatest quantum ship, it became the first of a new class of vessels designed to strengthen the bridge between civilizations. Its quantum core, forever altered by the merger, served as a template for a network that would span the galaxy. And somewhere in the vast depths of space, ancient machines that had known only consumption began to learn a new way of existing, their perfect mathematics enriched by the chaos they had once sought to destroy. Marcus stood at the shipyard's observation deck weeks later, watching construction begin on the next generation of quantum ships. Naira's crystalline form reflected the starlight beside him, her wings shifting in patterns that still captivated him. You know, he said, when I started my shift that day, I thought the most exciting thing that would happen was fixing a power fluctuation. And instead, you helped reshape the future of 3 civilizations. Her middle eye winked at him. Just another day at the shipyard? Marcus smiled, watching human and Luminari engineers working together on the quantum cores that would power humanity's next great journey. No, he said softly. This is something entirely new. Above them, the stars seemed to shine brighter, as if reflecting the changed quantum harmonics that now rippled through space-time. The universe had been transformed not by perfect order or pure chaos, but by the beautiful uncertainty that arose when differences came together to create something greater than themselves. Just another day at the shipyard, where humanity's dreams of reaching the stars had become something far greater, a bridge between worlds, built on the courage to reach across the void and trust in the power of connection.